Welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about the S Pen, from basic functionalities to more advanced features, so you can become a true expert. But that being said, let's begin with something relatively simple. If you come to the settings and scroll all the way down to advanced features and then tap on S Pen, you'll see every single S Pen setting for the S24. We are going to cover all of these settings in the video, but I want to start with the Air commands. These are all the quick functionalities you can enable when using the S Pen by tapping on this little button right here. As you can see, by default, it looks like this and it is relatively big, but you have the option to come here and make it be a little bit more compact so it takes up less space. Something you should also know is that you can customize it to have the shortcuts you want. So if you tap on the plus icon right here, you can actually select which Air commands show up in the menu and which don't. And as you can see, there is a lot to choose from S Pen features to pretty much every single app on the phone. In this case, I'm going to show you this ones right here, the ones that I have enabled on my phone, and the ones that I consider to be more important. Create a new note, view all notes, smart select, screen write, pen up, write on calendar, magnify, and translate. I actually would recommend you make sure you have all these shortcuts added to the Air commands because it's going to make the video a lot easier. But anyways, let's begin with the first one, which is the quick notes. If you tap right here on create note, as you can see, there's a little menu that shows up. It's not a full note. It's sort of like a window that doesn't cover the whole phone, but that lets you quickly jot down something without having to go to the Notes app and create a new note, which would take a little bit more time. As you can see, you have all the basic functionalities you would expect from a note. You can change the pen, the density, the color. You can also erase whatever you've drawn like this, but there is also this little tab at the top that shows a lot more functionality. So first, if you tap here, you can actually create a split screen between the Notes app and some other app, like for example, Google Chrome. So you can be taking a look at an article about GTA 6 and writing down the things you deem important about that article. You can also change the opacity of the note, which is very interesting because sometimes you're watching a video or reading something on the back and you don't really want to miss that content because of the note. So you could theoretically be consuming that content, taking a look at it while you write things on top of that content. You can also minimize the note like this, so it shows up like a little icon. You can move around anywhere you want and then tap on it again to show the note. By the way, I'm going to make the note be full opacity again because it made it a little bit uncomfortable. And you can also make it bigger like this and turn it into a full note, like if you were writing it on the proper Notes app with all the functionality and the bigger space. If you tap here, you can turn it back to a small note. And finally, if you tap on the cross, you make it disappear. Second, we have a quick access to the Notes app. So if you tap here, you can access the Notes app quickly without having to look for it on the app library. You also have a smart select tool. So if you tap on it, you can actually make a select screen capture of whatever you want on your display. So maybe you don't want to make a screen capture of the entire thing, but just one little specific thing. Well, you can quickly do it thanks to the Air commands on the S Pen. Then you also have the option to quickly take a screen capture right here. So you do a full screen capture. You also have the option to quickly access Pen Up, which is a more in-depth S Pen app that lets you have a lot more customization for what you can do with the pen. So if you want to draw something a little bit more complex, like this house, I'm just kidding, of course, but if you're good at drawing and you want to do something, as I said, a little bit more complex, this is the app for you. Then, very interesting, you have this option called Write on Calendar, which allows you to zoom in on the calendar and actually write on it just like this instead of having to type on it and create new events. Then you also have the option to zoom in on your display thanks to this app called Magnify. So if you tap here and select whatever level of magnification, let's do 250%, you can zoom in on any corner area of the display you want. And what's very cool about this is that it's not stretching the image to make it bigger. It's actually printing this at the full display resolution. So it's not only bigger, but also retains all the sharpness from the phone at 1440p, which makes everything look very, very clear. And last but not least, this one is a little bit more complex. We have the option to translate text from whatever language we want to whatever language we want. So if we tap on Google Chrome, for example, and come to a GTA 6 news article, we can actually tapping here on the bottom of the S Pen, select an area of the text. And as you can see, there is going to be a pop-up menu showing on the bottom. If we swipe up, we get access to the Google translation from that text in English to that text in Spanish. This is independent from the app, so you can do it on Google Chrome, you can do it on YouTube, you can do it on Amazon, anywhere you want. You can select a text and translate it from any language to any language. Now, something a lot of people don't know is that you can actually customize the air commands even further. As you saw earlier, we have the option to make them standard, which is a little bit big, or we can make them compact, which takes up less space. But there's a whole other range of options if we download this app right here called Good Luck. It is only available on the Samsung store because it is a Samsung exclusive app made by Samsung. Do not worry, by the way, it is completely free, it doesn't have any ads, and it barely takes up any space on your phone. So if you download it, which by the way, something I didn't tell you is that I've downloaded all the packages, both from Makeup and LifeUp. In your case, they are going to show up as bigger icons with a download button right there. I encourage you to download all of them because they barely take up any space, but at least download Pentastic for the next tip. And well, once it is downloaded, you just have to tap on it like this, and you'll get access to a whole range of settings to customize your S Pen even further. The first option is to customize the menu for air commands. As you can see, we have the default option, but we also have a black and white default option. We have a circular one. We have a black and white circular one. You can see this one, at least in my opinion, is the more compact and good looking one. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to probably not touch any of these settings and click on use. And automatically, if I tap on air commands again, there is a circular menu that, in my opinion, is a little bit more sleek, a little bit more professional. Now that we are here, as you can see, there's more things we can customize about the S Pen with Pentastic. There is an option to customize the cursor. As you can see, the basic default one is a circle, but we can make it an arrow. We can even customize the size of the arrow, so we can make it bigger so it's easier to see it. We can turn it into a heart. We can turn it into a random drawing of a dinosaur, bird, or even better, we can grab a custom image from our gallery and choose that as the S Pen cursor. So we can actually, for example, in this case, use an image of a border collie, my dog, as the cursor for the S Pen, which is not the most practical thing on earth, but you can do it. Now, coming back to the S Pen settings, I want to quickly talk about the air actions, which, like the name suggests, are a couple of air actions you use by tapping and moving the S Pen on the air to enable all kinds of functionalities. So first off, as you can see, we have basic system functionality, going back like this, going home like this, opening the multitasking like this, smart selecting like this, and doing a screen write like this. In my experience, these are a little gimmicky because they don't always tend to work very well. For example, the screen write for some reason tends to always work very nicely, so it always takes a screen capture when you do it. But some of these other air actions are quite finicky because they require for the S Pen to be parallel to the phone, so they can become a little uncomfortable. So for example, if I do this, maybe, see, it was supposed to make me go back to the home page, but it went back. So the only one that's for some reason consistently giving me good results is the screen write. So if you do this, you're going to take a screen capture of the phone, and it always works. It's the only one that I recommend. Now, things get even more interesting when we can do air actions on specific apps. The most notable one is the camera app. As you can see, if we tap on it, it'll show us all of the functionalities that we can do by making air actions with the S Pen. The main ones you should probably learn are: first, if you long press the button on the S Pen, you can quickly access the camera. If you double tap it, you can switch cameras from the selfie camera to the rear cameras. Then if you press once, you can take a picture just like that. As you saw, it was a night mode picture, but that's because the phone's facing down, so there's barely any light hitting the sensor. As you can see, if I double tap, go to the selfie camera and take a photo, it's going to be a normal photo. And then finally, and a little bit more finicky, if you tap on the button and swipe left or right, you can go from the different camera menus on the camera app. And the reason I say this is a little bit more finicky is because you, as I said earlier, you have to keep the S Pen parallel to the phone, which makes it a little bit complicated and difficult, especially if you're hand holding the phone. So these are not always the most recommended features, but for example, taking a picture just by tapping on the button like this can really help you if you try to take a group photo where you want everybody to be in the picture, so there's nobody to tap on the button. Well, you can set the phone up, prop it up in a rock or somewhere, and then tap on the button remotely so you can take a group photo with you included. Now, before I move on, there's actually two ways to bring up the Quick Notes or the Notes app without having to open the Air commands, and that you should probably know. The first one is by tapping on the button on the S Pen and then double pressing anywhere on the screen. This will bring up the Quick Notes window, as I said, anywhere on the screen, even if you're using a third-party app like Google. If you press here and then double tap, as you can see, it shows the Quick Notes menu, so you don't have to go back home to take a quick note. And then if the phone is locked, you have to press on the S Pen, but then just tap once. As you can see, it brings up a Quick Notes menu. In this case, it's full screen because the screen was turned off, so there's no other content. You can take a quick note and then hit save, so it saves on your Notes app. Now, another very cool feature on the S Pen settings is S Pen to text. So if you enable this feature, you can actually write with the S Pen on any search bar on your phone, whether it is on the system or any app. So if we come, for example, to the search bar on the app library, we can tap here and type Play Store without having to bring up the keyboard. And it even brings up this little menu so we can correct a typo or make a space or come up with an emoji that's a little bit harder to draw. Now, something you should also know is that there's 3 different options for when you remove the S Pen from the phone. There's the option to do nothing, which is what I have enabled. There's the option to create a new note, or the option to open an Air command. So for example, let's tap on create a new note, put the S Pen back on the S24 Ultra, and then take the S Pen out again. As you can see, it automatically creates a new note. If I set it back to do nothing when I take out the S Pen, well, it is going to do absolutely nothing. Now, moving on, there's something you should definitely turn on. It is not an S Pen feature, but it can potentially save your S Pen from getting lost. If you tap on More S Pen Settings, you'll see that this toggle, Warn if S Pen is left behind, is actually turned off by default. This means that if you leave your S Pen behind, quite literally, your phone is not going to make any noises or notify you that you've lost your S Pen. I highly recommend you turn it on. The phone is automatically going to make a notification and make a sound if it senses the S Pen is at a certain distance from the phone. And this can be very helpful for those of you who actually use the S Pen on a daily basis. Now, something very cool that has been enabled this year thanks to AI is the ability to draw something on any picture with the S Pen and then correct it using AI. So if we tap right here on the edit button and then tap on the drawing button right here, as you can see, we have a new pen available on the phone. Back in the day, we only had these 3 pens, the normal one, the slimmer one, and the ink pencil. But now we have an AI pencil right here. This is basically a magic pencil that will understand what you're drawing and give you a better drawn alternative done by AI. So if we draw, for example, an ice cream, I'm going to try to do my best at making it look and feel like an ice cream. There it is. It automatically is going to show me 3 ice cream drawings that I can choose and that are going to look a little bit better. Let's tap on this one right here, and as you can see, it gives me a much better drawing of an ice cream that I can paste on the image. In this case, it doesn't really make any sense, but if you're trying to do something that does make sense for the image, this can be very helpful to make everything look a little bit more professional and well done. Also, a little gimmick, if you double press on the S Pen button, like this, the display will automatically turn on. Now, something that's a little bit more useful is that you can actually draw at a specific time on a video. So if you come right here to the edit button, and then you tap on the drawing button right here, you can make a drawing. In this case, I'm going to make a big J that applies only to the specific part of the video. So if I hit done, I can actually select the area of the video and the length of that area where the J applies. In this case, let's make it relatively short. Hit save. Save. It is going to process the video because it's technically turning it into a new video. And as you can see, if we play the video, eventually at that specific time, the J is going to show up on the screen, in this case for like 1 second, but you can make it as long or short as you want as a quick note, maybe to correct something or make a punctuation on something you're seeing in the video, whatever you want. I sincerely hope you liked the video. I believe the S Pen is an amazing tool. If you have any questions, please tell me in the comments. And if you liked, also please let me know by liking and subscribing.